Some of the most effective garden tricks in America were once so common that nobody thought of them as tricks at all. Today, many of them have almost disappeared. Most gardeners assume modern fertilizers are the reason gardens became more productive. But if that were true, why did so many grandparents grow thriving gardens long before shelves were filled with garden products? 70 or 80 years ago, many American backyards looked very different. Tomatoes climbed wooden stakes, beans wound their way up handmade trellises. Compost quietly transformed in a corner of the yard. And somewhere nearby was usually a grandparent who seemed to know things modern gardeners rarely talk about anymore. After supper, a grandmother might carry a bucket of kitchen scraps out to the garden instead of the trash. On cold winter mornings, a grandfather might save fireplace ash in an old metal can beside the back door, waiting for spring to arrive. In some homes, people woke to the smell of coffee beans roasting over the fireplace, because nearly everything else the family needed came from the land around them. And in some communities, fish heads, bones, and scraps that would seem useless today were carefully buried beneath future planting rows. Strange as those habits sound now, they were once completely normal. People did them because they believed they worked. And year after year, many gardens seemed to reward that belief. At the time, nobody had a scientific explanation for any of it. People simply noticed that certain gardens became richer, healthier, and more productive with each passing season, and they kept repeating the habits that seemed to help. Not because someone sold them a system, not because an expert told them what to do, because they trusted what they could see. Then something changed. As products became easier to buy, older knowledge became easier to overlook. Little by little, many of those forgotten garden tricks disappeared. Not because they stopped working, but because fewer people were taught them. And once you begin looking closely at those forgotten habits, you discover something surprising. Many of the strangest tricks were all solving the same problem. The question is why so many people stopped using them. The answer begins something most people never noticed happening. The knowledge simply stopped being passed down. For generations, gardening knowledge rarely came from books. It came from people. A grandfather saving fireplace ash through the winter because his father had done the same, often keeping a coffee can of ash beside the back door until spring arrived. A grandmother carrying kitchen scraps to the garden after supper instead of throwing them away. A neighbor showing a young gardener which habits seemed to work and which ones didn't. A generation ago, that knowledge could even help put food on the table. During the Depression, some families gathered bushels of dandelion greens from their fields and hauled them into town to sell for a few extra dollars of household money. What many people call weeds today were once seen as resources. Every plant had a purpose. Every skill had value. That was how most people learned, one season at a time, one conversation at a time, one generation at a time. Then the world began to change. By the middle of the 20th century, fertilizers, bottled plant foods, and ready-made garden products were becoming easier to buy than ever before. For many families, that felt like progress. Why spend years learning dozens of garden tricks when a bag promised the answer? Why experiment when instructions were printed right on the package? Little by little, something important began to disappear. Not the gardens, the knowledge behind them. The grandfather who knew why ash was saved. The grandmother who knew what to do with kitchen scraps. The neighbor who could look at a struggling garden and recognize a problem before most people noticed it. One generation learned those things naturally. The next learned fewer. The generation after that often learned none at all. And because the knowledge disappeared gradually, most people never realized what had been lost. Which is why many forgotten garden tricks seem so surprising today. Not because they were rare, but because they were once completely normal. And the first few tricks on this list reveal just how different gardening used to be before fertilizer took over. One of the strangest garden habits our grandparents practiced involved something most people today would never consider burying beneath a tomato plant. Fish scraps, heads, bones, and leftovers from the kitchen were often buried beneath heavy-feeding crops instead of being thrown away. To modern gardeners, that can sound completely wrong. To many families, it simply made sense. A fish head was not waste. It was part of next season's harvest. People kept doing it because they liked what happened afterward. Tomato plants seemed stronger. Harvest baskets seemed fuller. And year after year, the habit survived because the results were difficult to ignore. The practice appeared in fishing communities, farming towns, and backyard gardens across America. Not because people followed the same gardening book, because observation kept leading them to the same conclusion. Experience came first. The explanation came later. In Kentucky, a gardener named Walden Whitehead still protects a tomato variety passed down through a single family line for more than 200 years. To him, a tomato was never just a tomato. It was something worth saving. The same mindset appeared every winter when grandparents saved fireplace ash instead of throwing it away. A grandfather might keep a coffee can of ash beside the back door all winter, adding to it little by little after each fire. By spring, that ash became part of the garden. To outsiders, it looked like an old habit. To the people using it, it was simply common sense. Nothing useful was wasted. That way of thinking showed up again in one of the simplest tricks of all: banana peels buried beside tomato plants. Not because someone advertised the idea, not because a gardening expert sold it in a bottle, because gardeners experimented, paid attention, and repeated what seemed to work. What makes these forgotten tricks fascinating is that they were all built on the same belief. Useful things still had value, even after everyone else considered them waste. And the next forgotten trick reveals just how far some families were willing to go to put that belief into practice. Some of the most effective garden tricks our grandparents used shared one thing in common. They required patience. Not days, not weeks, sometimes entire seasons. One forgotten practice involved leaving portions of roots and old crop material in the ground after harvest. To many families, a root left behind was not a mistake. It was part of next year's garden. The same thinking appeared in another forgotten trick. Many gardeners dug trenches beside future planting rows and filled them with kitchen scraps months before planting season arrived. To outsiders, it looked strange. To the people doing it, they were preparing tomorrow's harvest. What looked like waste today was food for a future garden. Some families took that idea even further. Leaves, grass clippings, and garden debris were gathered into shallow pits and left to slowly break down over time. An autumn pile of leaves was not a cleanup problem. It was next spring's opportunity. And after harvest, many gardeners saved stalks, stems, and other crop residue instead of hauling everything away. Useful materials stayed part of the cycle. Nothing useful was wasted. Not leaves, not stems, not scraps. In Appalachia, a grandmother named Cora kept her almanac hanging from the same nail in the kitchen and checked it every morning before deciding what work should be done that day. Planting, harvesting, canning, even fishing. To her, paying attention to the season was simply part of life. These tricks may sound different, but they were all built on the same belief. The best gardeners were not thinking about next week. They were thinking about next season, and the next forgotten trick reveals just how far some families were willing to go when observation mattered more than instructions. Some of the most forgotten garden tricks were the ones that sounded the strangest. One involved willow branches. Long before rooting hormones appeared on store shelves, many gardeners soaked young willow twigs in water before using that water on cuttings. A grandmother might never have known the science behind it. She simply knew certain cuttings seemed more likely to survive. The habit stayed because it worked. Another forgotten trick involved planting marigolds around vegetables. A grandfather might line the edge of a tomato patch with bright orange flowers every spring. To visitors, they looked decorative. To experienced gardeners, they served a purpose. Beauty and practicality lived side by side. One Kentucky gardener named Josephine insisted every corn seed be covered with dirt the moment it was planted. Otherwise, she warned, the crows would begin shouting, plantin' corn, and call every other crow in the county to the feast. Strange as it sounded, she never doubted it for a moment. Some families saved cardboard boxes and old newspapers instead of throwing them away. Come planting season, those materials were spread across parts of the garden before being covered with leaves, grass clippings, or compost. What looked like yesterday's news became part of tomorrow's garden. And one of the most surprising tricks involved saving charcoal from old fires. Instead of throwing it away, gardeners crushed it and worked it back into the soil. What looked like ashes from an old fire became part of next year's harvest. These tricks look completely unrelated. Willow branches, marigolds, old newspapers, charcoal. Yet they all survived for the same reason. People observed the results, and when something consistently helped the garden, they remembered it. The next forgotten trick reveals what happened when generations of gardeners trusted experience. Some forgotten garden tricks survived because people kept seeing the same results. One involved a plant many people now walk past without a second thought. Comfrey. A grandmother might cut armfuls of comfrey leaves and leave them soaking in a bucket behind the shed. Weeks later, that dark liquid would find its way back into the garden. The smell was enough to make visitors wrinkle their noses. Yet the habit survived because gardeners believed it was worth the trouble. Another forgotten trick sounded even stranger: milk. Long before shelves were filled with specialty sprays, a grandmother might reach for a bottle of milk before reaching for anything sold at a garden center. If mildew appeared on certain plants, diluted milk often became the first thing she tried. The practice stayed because people believed it helped. Some families relied on cinnamon as well. A grandfather taking cuttings from a favorite plant might dust the freshly cut stem with a pinch of cinnamon from the kitchen cupboard before placing it into the soil. It wasn't marketed. It wasn't branded. It was simply something gardeners passed from one generation to the next. In parts of Kentucky, families once sat around the fire stringing beans onto thread so they could be hung and dried for winter. Garden work was often passed down the same way, one person teaching another, and one of the most overlooked habits involved paying attention to the small creatures living in the garden. A grandfather might notice spiders weaving webs between tomato stakes and quietly leave them alone. To many experienced gardeners, their presence was a good sign. The garden seemed balanced, alive, healthy: comfrey, milk, cinnamon, spiders. 4 very different tricks. Yet all of them survived for generations because people believed they were seeing something worth remembering. The strange thing is that every one of these forgotten tricks was helping solve the same problem, even if the people using them never talked about it that way. After looking at all 15 tricks, a pattern begins to emerge: fish scraps, wood ash, willow water, marigolds, milk, comfrey, and all the rest. At first, they seem completely unrelated. Yet most of them were solving the same problem. They helped gardeners understand what their gardens needed without depending entirely on something bought from a store. What makes these old tricks remarkable is not that they were perfect. It's that they were built on observation. People paid attention. They noticed what worked. Then, they passed that knowledge to someone else. Perhaps that is the real loss many gardens experienced when fertilizer took over. Not the disappearance of a particular trick. The disappearance of the habit that created those tricks in the first place. The habit of paying attention. And perhaps that is why so many of these forgotten garden tricks still feel relevant today.